We are now 329 days away from the midterms. Usually, we hear from President Donald Trump speak at the White House a few times a week. He's announcing something, he's talking about whatever's on his mind and going back and forth with reporters. That's normal. But today's White House event was very revealing on several different subjects, starting with the controversial second strike on a boat in the Caribbean. Watch this.
Mr. President, you said you would have no problem with releasing the full video of that strike on September 2nd off the coast of Venezuela. Secretary Hegseth now says...
You said that. I didn't say that. This is ABC fake news.
You said that you would have no problem releasing the full video. Okay, well, Secretary Hegseth...
No, whatever Hegseth wants to do is okay with me. I saw the video. They were trying to turn the boat back to where it could float, and we didn't want to see that because that boat was loaded up with drugs just like everything else.
All right, there's a lot to unpack there. First, the president says he has seen the video. He also denied ever saying he would release the video. Well, for fact's sake, here's what the president himself said last week, about 5 days ago.
You released video of that first boat strike on September 2nd, but not the second video. Will you release video of that strike so that the American people can see for themselves what happened?
I don't know what they have, but whatever they have, we'd certainly release. No problem.
And today, the president kept going after that female reporter who was asking him about it. Watch this.
Are you committing to releasing the full video?
Didn't I just tell you that?
You said that it was up to Secretary Hegseth.
You're the most obnoxious reporter in the whole place. Let me just tell you, you are an obnoxious, actually a terrible reporter, and it's always the same thing with you. I told you, whatever Pete Hegseth wants to do is okay with me.
So you want to distract us with insults? We'll take the bait for a moment. If you are keeping track at home, this marks the 6th time in less than 1 month that the President of the United States has attacked a female reporter. The words he has chosen to include piggy, insubordinate, ugly, stupid, nasty, and obnoxious. Back to today at the White House, the president was also announcing a big bailout for farmers. But if you listen closely, it sounds like Trump is starting to change his tune, or at least the current message, when it comes to the affordability problem Americans are facing. It was one of the very first things he said, and I wanted to make sure you didn't miss it. Watch this.
We inherited a mess, affordability, but you can call it affordability or anything you want, but the Democrats caused the affordability problem, and we're the ones that are fixing it. So it's a very simple statement. They caused it, we're fixing it, and they have a tendency to just say this election's based on affordability, and nobody questions them.
So now President Trump says affordability is a problem, and it's a problem Democrats created, and he's the one fixing it. That is a very big change from what he's been saying over the last few weeks when he called affordability a scam and a con job. All right, let's get smarter with the help of our leadoff panel this evening. Kara Lenning is here, MS Now senior investigative correspondent. Susan Glasser joins us, staff writer for The New Yorker. Lieutenant General Mark Hertling, retired commander of the U.S. Army Europe. And Mike Madrid, a former political director of California's Republican Party. He's the co-founder of the Lincoln Project. Lieutenant General, we haven't seen you in quite some time. I'm thrilled that you're here. I want to start with the boat strikes. You have been writing about whether they were properly coordinated. What is your reaction to what we heard from the president today?
Well, it's another switch, another bait and switch. He specifically said he would release it as soon as possible. And today he's saying he never said that. So it's like a little child lying about stealing cookies. It wasn't me that took them, it's somebody else. So it's just another pivot in this long story of repeated lies about what happened. We're going to get to the bottom of it eventually, Stephanie, because that's what the military does. They conduct investigations. There will be inquiries. There'll be many more people testifying, and more of the truth will come out. And you can't continue to divert or deflect when those things are coming out from people who have been there, who have done that, and have seen all the evidence.
Carol, the White House keeps saying it's all about transparency, but this is another instance where, at the very least, that doesn't seem to be the case.
No, Steph, it sure doesn't. I mean, Democrats who were briefed on this and able to see the actual video of the two strikes, left and said that Americans would be repulsed at the idea of sending in a second bomb strike to get two survivors who were nearly drowning and clinging to a boat to try to avoid dying. Hardly people who were trying to engage in another military operation or radio for help to continue a military operation. And it seems as though the president didn't really get that memo when he professed that he'd have no problem releasing the video. And Hegseth, the Secretary of Defense, said today that they'd have to seriously consider and review whether or not it was possible to release it. And I think that we know the answer, which is he's never going to give permission to release this.
And that's the thing. Susan, the Lieutenant General just said a moment ago, the truth will eventually come out. But you have been talking about how many questions there are about these boat strikes. Do you think that anything will actually get this White House to produce the answers that we're looking for?
Well, I mean, Steph, to be blunt, it would require Congress stepping up and doing the job that Congress is supposed to do according to the Constitution, which has the war-making power, because there's two separate issues here. There's this horrific incident in September, the follow-on strike, and whether that was a violation of the laws of war, because you're not supposed to kill people who are outside of combat, and two people who are clinging to the side of a boat nearly drowning would qualify, according to most people's definitions, as not being in the fight. So the question of who made that decision? When were they following orders of the Secretary of Defense, Pete Hegseth? That's a very important question, whether a war crime occurred. There's also the broader set of questions about what exactly is this conflict? Is it actually a military conflict? Those are alleged drug trafficking boats. The administration has claimed that they are in an armed conflict with drug traffickers, claiming that there's a national emergency of some sorts. Congress has not authorized this military campaign. The question is Congress going to step up and act now? What is the legal rationale for this conflict? The administration has not released the opinion under which they are waging essentially this undeclared war. And so, on it goes with the questions. What is the evidence against the people in this boat? There are many legal experts who look at the whole campaign and say it's an act of a series of murders on the part of the United States military, rather than just the narrower question of these two individuals. So there's an awful lot of questions. And again, my question is Congress going to step up and force answers from the administration to any of them?
Well, Congress isn't going to do anything unless voters demand that they do, Mike. So let's talk politics. How do you think voters are reacting to this story? I mean, is Donald Trump happy to have people focus on this rather than Epstein or the economy?
Well, this president's under siege from a number of different sides, not only from the public broadly, but from his own dissipating base. We're starting to see cracks in the GOP coalition that we haven't seen in the last 6-8 years, that Donald Trump's been using these types of tactics to divert our attention and try to have us not look at the man behind the curtain. This is a different position than the president has been in before. Usually when he begins to attack, he's able to coalesce and rally the Republican base behind him, and that's a defensive strategy in and of itself. That's not exactly what we're seeing right now. And I'm not suggesting that Republicans have finally found their spine or they're somehow going to stop enabling this reckless president from this march towards war and whatever else he's doing. But what I am suggesting is it's not a bilateral attack politically anymore. It's coming from numerous sides. His own base is eroding. Independents have moved strongly against him on the policy positions that you were just talking about. And of course, Democrats are energized, mobilized, and ready to be more vocal in their protesting of this type of activity. So not a good moment to be in the political team in the White House tonight.
Lieutenant General, you also wrote about the White House's new national security strategy. Now, this is a document each administration puts out to explain how it sees the world and national security concerns. What do you make of this one?
It's not very good, Stephanie, and I've read quite a few of them during my career, especially in the later part of my years as a general officer and a commander of large forces. It's weak. It comes off with very bad intelligence, bad conjecture. The opening page has to do with proclaiming all of the victories that President Trump has won, all the things that he has done. Some of them are not quite accurate. In fact, some of them are very inaccurate. And that's the basis for the entire document. As you go into the rest of the document, the first thing it says is that national security connects strategy to means. And it tends to forget another key element of strategy, which is the way you do things. So it points out all of that, but it leaves out something to conjecture. And that's how subordinates use the national security strategy, because it drives the national defense strategy, the joint planning process for contingency operations, and everything else that both the military, the State Department, and other agencies use. So if there's missing pieces of this, and it's all conjecture, and it's a fluff piece, not only are we going to be confused in the United States government, but I can guarantee you that our allies and our foes are reading this. And it was interesting to me that one of our first competitors, Russia, said this is a great document. It does everything we need to do. That should sum it up in a nutshell when you have a competitor, a foe, saying you've got a great strategic approach because it advantages that nation and others like China and Iran and North Korea.